Listen to me very carefully. If you're thinking about buying a house in 2026, there are 5 states where you're about to commit financial suicide. I'm not talking about bad neighborhoods or ugly houses. I'm talking about entire states that are systematically destroying wealth for homeowners. The data is brutal. The exodus is accelerating. And if you ignore this warning, you'll wake up in 5 years with a property that's worth less than you paid while your taxes have doubled. This isn't fear-mongering. This is mathematics. I'm going to show you exactly which 5 states are death traps for real estate investors and homeowners, why the smart money is running for the exits, and where you should be looking instead. Let's get into it. Before we expose the 5 worst states, you need to understand the 3 metrics real estate disaster. First, migration patterns. When people flee a state faster than they arrive, housing demand collapses. Simple supply and demand. If your state lost 100,000 residents last year, who exactly is going to buy your house when you need to sell? Second, tax burden. I'm talking about the total tax environment, including state income tax, property tax, and hidden fees that bleed you dry every single year. High taxes don't hurt your cash flow today. They make your property toxic to future buyers. Third, economic fundamentals. Are businesses opening or closing? Are jobs being created or destroyed? Is the state government drowning in debt that will eventually get dumped on property owners? These three factors working together create a downward spiral that can trap you in a depreciating asset for decades. Now, let me show you where this nightmare is happening right now. California is the poster child for real estate disaster. Despite what the fanboys will tell you, the tech exodus is real. The tech exodus is real. Between 2020 and 2020, California lost over 1.2 million residents. Moved their headquarters to Texas. Hewlett moved to Enterprise, moved to Texas. Packard, Enterprise, when the companies that built Silicon Valley, that tells you everything you need to know. That tells you everything you need to know. State income tax is the highest in the nation, and that's before federal taxes. And that's before federal taxes. You're handing over more than half your income. You're handing over more than half your income to the government. Might seem reasonable at around 1%, but you're repaying that 1%. But you're paying that 1% median on a $2 million median home price in many desirable areas. $20,000 just in property tax, just on a house that would cost tax on a house $100,000 in Texas with zero state income. California also has some of the most hostile landlord laws. Rent control is expanding. Evictions are nearly impossible, and the regulatory environment treats property owners. The wildfire insurance crisis is the final nail in the coffin. Are fleeing the state. Insurers are fleeing the state in fire-prone areas. Can't get coverage. You want to buy a beautiful home in the hills. Good luck insuring. Good luck. The only people who should buy in California are those who absolutely must live there for family or business reasons, and who understand they're remaking a lifestyle choice. They're making not a lifestyle choice. Illinois is a slow-motion train wreck. Illinois is a slow-motion train with catastrophic finances. Catastrophic finances. The state has lost population for 9 consecutive years. Think about that. 9 years in a row. Think about more people 9 years in a row arriving. Of more people Chicago's pension debt is somewhere north of $100 billion, depending on whose numbers you believe. Depending on whose numbers you believe. Doesn't disappear. That debt gets paid by taxpayers. It gets paid, which means property owners. Which means Illinois property taxes are among the highest in the nation. With effective rates around 2.3% and over 3% in many Chicago suburbs. On a $400,000 home, you're paying $12,000 per year. Just government lets you keep. The government, the business climate is toxic. Major corporations have relocated their headquarters out of Illinois, including Caterpillar, Boeing, and Citadel. When a hedge fund that can operate from anywhere chooses to leave, that's not about weather preferences, that's about tax policy and governance. Illinois also has a flat income tax that was nearly converted to a progressive tax, and that battle isn't over. And that the state is desperate for revenue, the state and property owners for revenue, and property owners are the easiest targets. Crime rates in Chicago are driving suburban flight, which means the tax base is eroding. If you buy in Illinois, you're betting that things will somehow improve. You're betting that a decade of evidence somehow improve in the opposite direction. A decade of evidence not investing in the opposite direction. New York is experiencing wealth flight on a scale that would have seemed experiencing wealth 10 years ago. On a scale the pandemic accelerated what was already happening. The pandemic accelerated what was already leaving the state in 300,000 residents leaving the state in 2023, nearly half of the top 1% of earners pay nearly half of all state income taxes. When your revenue model depends on rich people staying put, when your revenue model depends on rich people staying put, and they start moving to Florida, has the highest tax burden in the nation. When New York City has the highest tax burden in the nation, and when you combine state, you can easily pay a combined marginal rate over 50%. You can easily pay a combined marginal rate over 50%, and on Long Island are confiscatory. The property taxes often exceeding 3% on Long Island are confiscatory. Often exceeding $3,000 home in Westchester County will cost you $620,000 per year. Westchester County taxes will cost you the rent control and tenant protection laws in New York City. The rent control and tenant protection laws in New York City can take over a year, even when tenants stop eviction entirely. Can take over a year. The state legislature views landlords entirely. The state legislature views landlords business regulations are not as providers, which is why companies business regulations to business-friendly states, which is why companies are relocating that built business-friendly states, are now opening major offices in Florida and Texas, New York, where their employees can actually afford to live. Florida, if you're considering New York, where their employees can actually afford to live. If you're considering to pay New York taxes when they could pay zero state income tax in Florida or Texas, and pay twice as much when they could pay zero state income tax in Florida, which is why they're leaving, and buy twice as much holds the crown as the absolute worst state in America, which is why they're leaving. The New Jersey holds the crown tax rate the absolute worst state in America, which is double the national average. The average effective property tax rate it exceeds 2.47%. That means which is double the national $500,000 home. In some you're paying over $12,000 every single year. That means just on a $500,000 property. You're paying over mortgage interest, property every single year, never go away, just for the privilege of owning property. They only go unlike mortgage interest, property taxes never go away, and they never go down. Up to 10.75%. New Jersey also has and some income tax costs with rates living up to 10.75%. You're getting hammered from every direction, and some the state has the second worst business climate in You're getting hammered according to multiple rankings. The state has the second worst business climate in America. They're according to multiple rankings, has been companies are not declining to New Jersey. As residents flee to Pennsylvania, the population Florida has been stagnant and the Carolinas, or declining. They can cut their tax bill in Pennsylvania overnight. Florida, the pension crisis in New Jersey, cut their tax bill in half with over $200 billion. The pension crisis in New Jersey rivals that Illinois will be paid with over $200 billion through ever-increasing liability taxes. That the state will be has already shown it's willing to raise taxes increasing rather than tax spending. The state has already shown it's willing to raise taxes for a lifetime of tax increases. While your property value stagnates, you're volunteering for a lifetime of tax increases. While your property value doesn't pay the tax bill. There are beautiful areas in New Jersey on what ULL pay over 30 years in property taxes. Run the numbers and ULL understand over 30 years in property. Connecticut taxes alone and you'll understand as a cautionary tale why this is economic stagnation. Connecticut rounds out our list as a cautionary tale of economic stagnation, and high earners has barely grown its population with better tax treatment. and Connecticut implemented a mansion tax on homes over $2.5 million implemented raising income tax on homes over $2.5 million and caused those raising income taxes on General Electric moved their headquarters out of Connecticut to Boston, and eventually Electric to other locations. Their headquarters major hedge funds have relocated and eventually to other locations. Business exodus. Major hedge funds have relocated to Florida. In Connecticut, the business over 2% is real. With some wealthy towns in Connecticut, Greenwich averaging over 2% ownership. With some wealthy towns, the state like has one of the highest debt burdens that make per capita in the nation. The state that has one of the highest debt burdens every other capita budget in the nation. Connecticut's economy is heavily dependent every other on financial services. Connecticut's economy is heavily dependent discovered during the pandemic that they don't need expensive. Connecticut discovered during the pandemic that they don't need expensive. Connecticut housing market has been flat for years in many areas. The housing market has been flat for years. You might still be underwater. If you bought in 2007, even you might still be underwater 2 decades or barely breaking even. That's nearly paid massive property taxes every single year. While you paid massive property taxes the worst every single year. Connecticut offers the worst of all worlds. Declining population and stagnant economy, declining population, unless you have a specific high-paying job that requires you to be there. Unless you have a specific high-paying job in Connecticut that requires you financial to be malpractice. Buying real estate in Connecticut is financial malpractice. Follow the migration patterns and